Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. So this is going to be the start of a new series that I call Variants That I Hate Fighting. In this series, I'm going to be talking about different variants that I hate fighting, the reasons I hate fighting them, general advice and tips I have for dealing with them, and how I personally deal with them. And by that I mean which variants I specifically use to fight them. But with that introduction out of the way, the first variant that I'm going to be talking about is Curl Scout. So to start off with, let's go ahead and read her signature ability. So, Curl Scout's signature ability is Dare to Dream. Remove up to 2 debuffs, gain 2 stacks of armor for 15 seconds, and gain 30% blockbuster meter after every 5th combo hit suffered. Gain 10% health and inflict Wither for 6 seconds every 4 seconds while benefiting from a buff. So obviously Curl Scout is a defensive fighter, she's a water elemental character, and her ability is crazy good if she's defending. And the reason she's so good is because when she gets hit by a 5th combo hit, her ability activates, she removes 2 of her debuffs, she gets blockbuster meter, and she gets 2 stacks of armor. And on top of that, she starts to heal 10% of her health while you get hit with the Wither, which is a huge pain to deal with, especially since the requirements on her ability are so easy to meet. Now, Filia's marquee abilities and prestige abilities are more oriented towards offense, so I'm not really going to talk about them here, but if you are fighting Curl Scout and she has her marquee unlocked, it's probably going to be Leech that she has, but Leech makes it so she gets a little bit of her health back whenever she inflicts damage, and because her signature ability gives her blockbuster meter, if she has a level 3 blockbuster on her, there is a chance that she'll use it and heal back her health, which makes her all the more dangerous. So let's talk about how to deal with her. First of all, when it comes to buffs, Precision is going to be very helpful against her. So for those of you that don't know, Precision makes it so your next attack is guaranteed to be a critical hit, and that critical hit is not going to activate any signature abilities. So in the case of Curl Scout, if you were to gain 5 stacks of Precision and you pulled off a 5-hit combo, that combo would not activate Curl Scout's ability, and that is because the 5th hit would be a Precision hit since you had 5 stacks of Precision. Now, the tricky part with Precision is that typically when a character gets Precision, it comes in a stack. So each hit that you get off that is a Precision hit is going to take 1 from that stack, and you can only have a stack of 5. So basically, if you did get 5 stacks of Precision and you pulled off that 5-hit combo, you'll notice that each hit is going to remove 1 from the stack of Precision. So by the end of that combo, you're going to have 0 stacks of Precision left. But with that being said, there are variants in this game that are able to give themselves permanent Precision, and as long as they have permanent Precision, every single one of their attacks is going to be a Precision critical hit. Off the top of my head, the 3 variants that I know can give themselves permanent Precision are Starshine Annie, Windswept Filia, and Hexcalibur Black Dahlia. Now, I personally recommend Starshine and Windswept as they are both very good, but Hexcalibur I can't recommend against Curl Scout because in order to activate her ability, you have to get a combo of 10 hits or more, which means if you're using her against Curl Scout, assuming you don't already have Precision on her, you're going to end up activating Curl Scout's ability before you even get Precision. And once you activate her ability, even if you do get Precision, she's going to start healing and she's going to hit you with Wither, and you're just going to have a bad time. But yes, Precision is helpful, permanent Precision is even better, so if you have any way to give yourself permanent Precision, that is one way to deal with Curl Scout. Now, one caveat I have with Precision actually is that even if you don't necessarily activate Dare to Dream by achieving the 5-hit combo requirement, as long as she has a buff, she's still going to get health back and inflict Wither. So if there's some outside source, say a match modifier or maybe a support character on her team that's able to give her a buff, then you still might have to deal with her health regen and Wither. But we're going to talk about ways to deal with that right now. So let's go ahead and talk about debuffs. When it comes to debuffs, since Curl Scout can remove her own debuffs, they aren't the most useful thing. That's not to say that they're useless, they're technically still effective against her. The problem is that you have to actually be able to inflict them without getting a 5-hit combo, because if you do, then she's just going to remove them. However, one debuff that she can't remove on her own is Hex. So what Hex does is whenever a character is inflicted with Hex, their signature abilities are disabled, meaning that if you're able to inflict Curl Scout with Hex, her ability will not be able to activate regardless of how long your combo goes on for. So on that 5th combo hit, it's not going to activate her ability, she's not going to be able to heal herself, and she's not going to be able to hit you with Wither, at least as long as she has Hex on her. And because it disables signature abilities, it actually gives you way more options on how to deal with Curl Scout. And if you don't have to worry about her signature ability, then you can kind of just fight her however you want to fight her, to be honest. Now, if you do rely on Hex, Just make sure that you have the power to actually defeat her while she has Hex on her, because once it wears off, her ability is going to start activating again. Now the next debuff I want to talk about is Curse. Now, earlier in the video, I said that while you can use Precision to prevent yourself from accidentally activating her signature ability, even if you do that, as long as she gets a buff from an outside source, the second part of her ability, or her second ability, however you refer to that as, is going to activate, meaning she'll be able to get health back and inflict Wither if she gets a buff. Well, if you can inflict her with Curse, then you don't have to worry about that problem because she won't be able to get any buffs from outside sources as long as she's cursed. So if there is some outside source that's able to give her a buff in some way, Curse is actually going to be really helpful against her. If you only rely on Curse, however, like I said before, she can remove her own debuffs, so if you hit her with the combo, that 5th hit is going to remove Curse from her, assuming that's the only debuff that she has on her. Now, one other way you can deal with her is by using somebody that can remove buffs. Even if you do activate her signature ability through a combo, as long as you're able to steal the buffs that she gets from that, then you don't really have to worry about her second ability. Now, if you are going to go down the buff removal route and rely solely on that, if you do activate her ability and steal her buffs right after it gets activated, she's still going to get Blockbuster meter. So if she has a level 3 Blockbuster, you're still going to have to watch out for that. Another concern I have with buff removal is that you actually have to be able to remove her buffs in order to prevent herself from healing herself and inflicting Wither on you. So you have to be a little bit careful when it comes to that window of opportunity for her. But that's going to bring me to my last point, which will then lead into me talking about how I deal with Girl Scout. That point being low hit combos. So when I say low hit combos, I mean combos that don't reach 5 hits. If you don't have any way to implement any of the stuff that I just talked about previously, then this is probably going to be the way you go. When you're fighting Girl Scout, you're going to want to try not to activate her ability as best as you can, and that means hitting her with attacks that don't hit 5 times or more. So you're going to want to equip special moves and blockbusters that hit less than 5 times. And assuming your characters are strong enough and your moves hit hard enough, you should be able to deal with Girl Scout without ever having to activate her signature ability. Again, assuming she doesn't have a way to get a buff from an outside source. Now, this is a strategy that I don't think I've ever really tried, but I'm just going to talk about it now. Assuming you have Beowulf, if you just spam Wolf Shoot over and over and over again, then you should never have to worry about Girl Scout's signature ability activating. And if you have a Beowulf that can inflict heal block or curse or prevent her from healing in some way, then you really shouldn't have to worry about her too much, assuming that you spam Wolf Shoot and are very careful not to reach that 5-hit combo criteria. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the variants that I use to deal with Girl Scout. First, I'm going to talk about Starshine Annie. So, Starshine Annie has the ability to get a permanent precision on her as long as she stays in the match for at least 15 seconds. So, once she gets that permanent precision, it's pretty much fair game and I can just unleash everything that I want upon Girl Scout. But I do have to wait 15 seconds for permanent precision to actually kick in. So while I wait, I pretty much just try to keep my distance and use my down attack. I'm sorry guys, I don't know how you would refer to that in the game. When I say down attack, I mean that little slide thing she does. You know if you play Annie. And I also use my throw. Another move I like to use is Destruction Pillar. And all of these moves that I'm talking about only hit 1 or 2 times, so they won't activate Girl Scout's ability as long as I don't try to combo off of them. Now, on her own, my Starshine doesn't have any way to inflict Curse or Hex or anything like that, so I have no way to stop Girl Scout from healing, but typically I can pretty much outdamage her health regen, if she even gets any to begin with. Plus, even if Girl Scout were to gain a buff somehow, Starshine gains immunity after facing the same opponent for 10 seconds, so I wouldn't have to worry about Wither. Now, the next character that I like to use against Girl Scout is actually Windswept Filia. So like Starshine, Windswept also has the ability to give herself a permanent precision buff, and it's also possible to get permanent precision faster than Starshine can. Plus, Windswept is a wind elemental fighter, so she has the elemental advantage, meaning she'll do bonus damage against Girl Scout. Typically when I use Windswept against Girl Scout, I try to get precision to activate as quickly as possible, so I usually start the match by blocking, waiting for Girl Scout to get a combo win or something, and then retaliating with my own attack. If I timed it correctly, I should be able to gain evasion, and from there I just wait for Girl Scout to hit me, and then I can get permanent precision after evading an attack. And then I pretty much just go all out with my attacks. One downside to Windswept is that if either fighter gets knocked down, her precision actually ends. And if that happens before I'm able to defeat Girl Scout, then I have to repeat all of those steps in order to get precision back. But with this strategy, I'm usually able to defeat Curl Scout without any real issues. Like Starshine though, I have absolutely no way of inflicting Hex or Curse with Windswept, so if Curl Scout was to gain some kind of buff from some outside source, I wouldn't really be able to do much against it. And Windswept doesn't have a way to give herself immunity naturally, so unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to stop Wither either. But I usually have a forced tag out move on Windswept, so I could theoretically just take out the other teammates before dealing with Curl Scout, but it never usually comes to that. Now this next character I use doesn't actually have precision and doesn't inflict Hex, and I wouldn't even necessarily recommend using her, but she's worked well for me before, and if I don't have Starshine or Windswept, I would turn to her. And that character is Dark Horse. So after facing the same enemy for 10 seconds, Dark Horse inflicts a permanent curse on the enemy, and she also gets boosted dark damage and a permanent haste buff. Curse is obviously useful, but once again, it can easily be removed by Curl Scout's own ability. So why do I use Dark Horse? Well, it's because Marie actually has some pretty hard-hitting special moves and blockbusters that hit very few times. Moves like Carpal Pummel, Merry-Go-Round, and Hilgard's Haymaker, they do quite a lot of damage and they don't actually hit enough times to activate Curl Scout's ability. Plus with Dark Horse's boosted damage, I'm actually able to do pretty decent damage with special moves and blockbusters alone. Plus Dark Horse's haste makes it really easy to get Carpal Pummel. Now obviously when I play as Dark Horse, I make sure to not activate Curl Scout's ability as best as I can. And usually I'm able to defeat Curl Scout without too many issues as long as I can get off some of my special moves, because that's pretty much where the brunt of my damage comes from. But yeah, those are all my tips for defeating Curl Scout. Hopefully you guys found this a little bit helpful. I know Curl Scout's given a lot of people some trouble. Personally, I've never really had much issues with her, but that's mainly because I have Starshine and Windswept, who I feel like are really perfect counters for her. Maybe not perfect, but they're extremely good against her. But obviously that's not very helpful information if you don't have either of those characters. But honestly, I think as long as you have high enough damage, you can kind of deal with her just by doing short combos and special moves. Or using Beowulf and just spamming Wolf Shoot over and over again. Like I said, never tried it, but I feel like that would be pretty effective. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know who you like to use against Curl Scout. I'm curious to hear how other people deal with her. Also, let me know if you guys want me to do these types of videos with other characters. I already have some variants in mind that I want to talk about, but if you have somebody that you'd like to hear some advice for or something, I'll see what I can do. Because there are some variants in this game that I honestly don't even have a strategy for. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you again next time.